Welcome, everyone, to a special episode of The Phoenix Within. I'm your host, Nicholas Thomas. I'm an educator, a leader, and someone who believes deeply in the power of resilience, truth, and human spirit's ability to rise even in the face of adversity. Through The Phoenix Within, my mission has been simple: to encourage people to rise above life's challenges, lead with courage, and discover the strength that already exists within them. Because life will test you, leadership will test you. And history itself reminds us that even in our darkest moments, hope still exists beyond the ashes. Today, I invite you to join me as we honor a day that represents freedom, perseverance, and the unbreakable spirit of a people. Today, we celebrate Juneteenth. But before we do, I think it's important that we understand why this day matters. Because Juneteenth is more than a holiday, it is more than a moment in history. It's a testament to resilience. It is a reminder that truth matters. And perhaps most importantly, it's a reminder that freedom is worth fighting for. On June 19th, 1865, more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally learned they were free. Think about that. Freedom had already been declared, but freedom had not yet been delivered. Justice had been proclaimed, but justice had not yet reached everyone. And despite the delay, hope was not defeated. Juneteenth becomes a symbol of perseverance, a symbol of faith, a symbol of unbreakable spirit. It became a celebration of people who endured unimaginable suffering, yet still chose to build instead of break, to hope instead of hate, and to rise instead of surrender. Because Juneteenth is not simply Black history, it's American history. And remembering history does not divide us. Remembering history reminds us of who we have been and challenges us to become who we are meant to be. June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, 2.5 years, freedom existed. But many still lived in chains. Can you imagine that? Knowing that liberty had been promised, yet still waking up enslaved. And while freedom was delayed, the dignity of a people that could never be denied. Because oppression may delay destiny, but it can't destroy it. And despite generations of slavery, despite cruelty, despite hatred, despite injustice, they rose. They built schools, they built churches, they built communities, and most importantly, they built hope. Not because life was easy, but because they believed tomorrow could be better. One of the most powerful songs from Wicked contains these words: "Something has changed within me, something is not the same." And perhaps that's the spirit of Juneteenth, because there comes a moment when people decide enough. Enough fear, enough hatred, enough injustice, enough allowing others to define our worth. There comes a moment when people decide that they will no longer accept limits placed upon them by others. And yet another lyric from Defying Gravity says, "I'm through accepting limits because someone says they're so." Isn't that the story of freedom? People told they couldn't read, yet they learned. People told they couldn't vote, yet they voted. People told they couldn't dream, yet they dreamed. People told they couldn't rise, yet they rose. There are moments in history when silence becomes dangerous. And perhaps we're living in one of those moments because there are voices today that want history forgotten, voices that are uncomfortable, truths erased, voices that want books removed, voices that want us to pretend that pain never existed. But let me say this clearly: truth is never the enemy, history is never the enemy, remembering is never the enemy, because we cannot heal what we refuse to acknowledge. And we cannot move forward pretending we never stumbled. Teaching truth does not divide us. Truth brings understanding. Truth brings healing. Truth reminds us of our shared humanity. And standing up for truth should never be controversial. Standing up for humanity should never be political. Standing up for dignity should never require courage. But history teaches us that sometimes it does. And when that moment comes, may we have the courage to stand. There's another line from Defying Gravity that has always spoken to me. Everyone deserves the chance to fly. Everyone, not some, not a few, everyone. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves opportunity. Everyone deserves respect, and everyone deserves freedom. And perhaps that is the lesson of Juneteenth. Freedom was never meant to belong to only some people. Freedom belongs to all people. Because when one community rises, humanity rises. And when we choose love over hatred, hope over fear, and unity over division, we all soar higher like the phoenix. We rise. To the young people listening, never allow anyone to convince you that your story doesn't matter. Never allow anyone to tell you that your voice is too small. Never believe that you do not belong. Because you come from survivors. You come from dreamers. You come from builders. You come from people who refuse to surrender. And you carry their legacy. Not simply in your name, not simply in your skin, but in your courage. And my prayer for this generation is simple. May you have the courage to speak truth. May you have the strength to stand up for others. May you never lose sight of humanity that connects us all. The phoenix does not ask permission to rise. It simply rises. And generation after generation, people were told they were less than, rose. People who were told they were invisible, rose. People who were told to stay silent, rose. And today we rise, not with bitterness, but with hope. Not with hatred, but with love. Not with vengeance, but with truth. Because the fire was never meant to destroy us. It was meant to reveal who we truly are. And perhaps the greatest lesson of Juneteenth is this: freedom delayed is painful. Freedom denied is injustice. But freedom defended becomes legacy. As we celebrate Juneteenth, may we honor those who came before us. May we remember those sacrifices made our freedoms possible. May we continue to stand when standing is difficult. May we come to speak when silence is easier. May we never stop rising again and again and again until every child knows their worth, until every voice is heard, until everyone truly has the chance to fly. Thank you for joining this special episode of The Phoenix Within. I'm Nicholas Thomas. And remember to rise, to lead, and to inspire. Because the fire wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal who you truly are. Happy Juneteenth.